Sego Scano Sewagwego, Gahandaguas Yunyats. I am Mohawk and Turtle Clan from 6 nations in the Grand River Territory. Today I have the honor of introducing to you Perry McLeod-Shabogesic of the Crane Clan, an Ojibwe Anishinaabe from Nipissing First Nation. Perry is the manager of cultural services for the Nijansinaanik Child and Family Services in Dokis First Nation. Perry is an elder, a helper, and a resource person for our member First Nations of Wasauksing, Shawanaga, Magnetawan, Henvey, Dokis, and Wanapate First Nations. In this role, he has been assisting children, families, and First Nations staff in the area of traditional medicine, traditional teachings, ceremonies, and workshops. Perry is also compiling a very important resource list of traditional helpers from all our member communities. This will assist in developing local and shared cultural growth in our catchment area. Perry's spirit name is Onzoked, which means teller of sacred stories in Ojibwe. Perry's storytelling presentation today is titled, "We Are All Stories Waiting to be Told." In his presentation, Perry will explain that our stories connect us to our past, our present, and our future. Through the stories and teachings of the Bear Moon, McLeod-Shabogesic. The stories speak to who we are as Indigenous people of this land, and they reveal our worldview and understanding of our place in creation. Perry will be sharing stories that have been told to him, and he will be sharing stories that he has lived. Storytelling is more than just telling stories. It's taking your spirit on a journey to sacred places where only your spirit can go.
Not Bonjour. Enzo Kedishnikaz, Shage Dodem, Bising Don Java, Anishinaabe and Dao. My Anishinaabe name is Anzo Ked, one who tells stories. From Nipsing, Bising, and I'm of the Crane clan. I'm also a Shkabewis back home in my territory of Nipsing and Anishinaabe territory. And so I've come here today to share a little bit of the knowledge that I've been passed by my teachers, by my elders, by my community, by my people. And I'm going to share that here today with you. But first, I want to acknowledge this sacred lodge that I've been invited to sit in. Such an honor for me to be here down in the Haudenosaunee territory to take part in this sharing. Because as Anishinaabe people, as Indigenous people, as Earth people, that is part of our instructions, to share. We were never taught to hoard. We learned that when the colonizers came and we began to practice hoarding. But in our lodges, we try not to be that way. We try to come in these lodges and share what we know. We still have a responsibility for that sharing, but we share that with those who we feel can carry that knowledge in a good way. And so I'm here today to share a little bit about this time that we are in. Back home, we call this time, this moon, that McLeod-Shabogesic, which is the bare moon. And the bare moon is, as every moon is, a special time. This is also very special. But what it is, according to our teachings, is a time when the bear will awaken from that winter slumber and will lead that new life, that creation ignites again at this time. And it is the bear that sparks that begins that. That Makwa has spent, since the fall time, months in its den, in dream time. It's fasting. And that's one of the teachings we receive from the bear, is that fasting that we do as people of the earth. And, you know, when we fast, we might fast for a couple of days. We might fast for 4 days, some longer. But usually we struggle through that. We struggle, especially towards the end of those days. And yet that makwa will lay in the den, I should say. Lay in the den for months. Months it will lay in the den fasting, not complaining, accepting that offering that it's giving of itself for that time, reminding us about our sleep time, our dream time, our fasting time, our closeness to the earth, all those things that we should be. It reminds us of that makwa. And what's even more special is that Mother Bear, she lay in her den carrying those little ones in her belly. And at this time is the time where not only is she fasting for months, no food, no water, but she's having her babies. She's having her babies while she's in that den. And I am told by my teachers that at this time, in that McLeod-Shabogesic, that bare moon, is the time when that makwa turns. It turns 4 times. And when it does that, when it gets up and it turns, it sends a signal, a message to the thunder beings to get their water ready, that spring water, that water that comes in those spring storms, that lightning, that water that comes down to the earth hard. And that special water carries the medicine of our thunders. And it ignites that new life cycle that is beginning again. And it's our makwa that leads that. They are the first in that life cycle to have their young, to have their babies, to have their cubs. And so we see that. We see that and we acknowledge that, or so we should. We haven't always done that. Through our experience in a colonized world, we've forgotten some things, but we are now remembering and starting to do these things again. So at this time we gather, we celebrate that makwa. We celebrate the gifts, the medicine that it carries, the messages of protection, of protecting the land, of doing those things that we were instructed to do. The bear, the makwa, reminds us of that. So we'll feast the bear. We'll have a bear feast. Today we'll gather some of the food that the bear likes. We've collected a little bit of blueberries and fish and other foods from this territory to offer that makwa in the sacred fire, to give thanks for the work that it does for us. Never asks for anything. So we get that food and we offer that food to them. I was told by one of my teachers just recently that back in the day, when they would have a bear feast, they would actually feast bear. They would cook that bear, he said, and they would have that on a table. He attended one of these feasts up north. And the bear would be cooked, and people would go up to the bear and they would take certain parts of the bear to eat it. And those different parts would do different things for you. It was special medicine. And that was in honor of the bear, because part of the animals, the plants, part of it, not all of it, part of it is to be here for us, to keep us well, to keep balance in our life, to remind us about our own instructions. And so we would feast on that bear as well. So this time is a time when we look to that makwa, and instead of chasing them out of our towns and cities like we normally do, some of us, we should remember those bears were here first. They were taking care of the land here first. And they only come in and do the things that bears do. They're just following their instructions. We are the ones who are not. We treat them like they shouldn't be here. Now, isn't that a familiar story? So the bear is there to help us when we are searching for medicine. The bear that in our teachings is the guardian of that northern door, that door of healing. We pray to the bear. We offer our medicine to the bear, our tobacco, our sama, and ask the bear to help us find the medicine we might be looking for. Or in our ceremonies when we are struggling, in a sweat, in a fast, in a sun dance, in a rain dance, we can offer our sama to the bear to ask to help us. And that bear will come. It will not hesitate. It will come in spirit, and it will help if you ask in a good way. You know, the role of that makwa is not an easy one. When we take a walk in the bush, the one thing on our mind, or one of the main things on our mind when we walk is, oh, I hope I don't bump into a bear. And that's their job. That's their role. To be in the bush, to remind us that we can't just go on the land and do whatever we want. They are there to guard that for us and for all other creatures, all other beings in creation. So they are just fulfilling their role in creation to be that land protector. And we must remember that and not condemn them for that, because that is who they are. If you go onto the land with a good heart and a good way with good medicine, and you come up to a bear, the bear will not bother you. It will feel that. It will sense that. It will know that you're not here to harm anything. It will leave you alone. There are many times we go out picking blueberries and the bears are right there, eating blueberries themselves. As blueberries are one of the most important, if not the most important food for that makwa. Even that mother bear will sometimes bring in some blueberries into the den at hibernation to take with it. They won't eat it. They'll keep it. And they'll keep it till when the cubs are born. And when the cubs are born, that makwa kwe, she will take those blueberries and she will rub her belly, her breasts, I should say. And when those little cubs begin to suckle, not only will they drink that milk, that life medicine from her, but they will taste those blueberries. And it will imprint on them. And they will know by that first contact with their mom, in that first feeding, that first feast that she prepares for them, the blueberries are important. And in their life, they will continue to feed on those blueberries as much as they can because of that special medicine. The bear also carries things for us, like the fat on the bear. As earth people, we have always used that fat in our medicine, in our mshkike, our salves. Minagan is one. And in that minagan, the base oil is that bear fat. And we use that because the bear is very special. It's one of the few animals that will eat roots and berries, meat, fish. It'll almost eat anything. And so when it eats that, there is that saying, you are what you eat. Well, the bear emulates that. Because that medicine it takes in its vessel, it doesn't just come back out. It stays within the vessel of the bear in its fat. So we receive that fat through the harvesting of a bear, of a makwa. We take the different parts of the fat on the different parts of the body, and even each of those areas where that fat is stored in the bear is good for particular medicines, including the organs, the bones, the claws. It's full of medicine. It is only medicine, according to our teachings at Makwa. And so we honor the bear to give thanks for all the things that it gives us, all that mshkuke, all that support when we are weak. And at this time, when the little cubs are born, we are given a little signal to tell us they are here. And that signal comes in a mist. Mornings during McLeod-Shabogesic, towards the end, you take a ride out and you look on the land amongst the trees. And some mornings you'll see a mist, not on the ground, not above, but right along the trees. A mist that gently floats amongst the trees. We are told that that is the breath of those cubs, that breath of new life. That is how we know they are here. That is how we know that first cycle, or that cycle of life for that year has begun again. That second moon of McLeod-Shabogesic is when life begins. When our mother, the earth, is circling our grandfather, the sun, there are 2 points in which she is closest and furthest from our grandfather as we ride on her back, as she dances around him with our other relatives, the planets, all the other planets, our uncles and aunties in the sky, and all our other ancestors in the stars watch. That winter solstice, usually around, in the calendar year, around December 21st, is a time when our mother, the earth, is closest to our grandfather, the sun. But as she dances around him, she leans back. She leans back as she is close to him, and that is when we get that cold time, that cold climate. And as she circles him, she begins that new cycle of moons, of 13 moons that we follow. First one is that McLeod-Shabogesic, that spirit moon. And the second one is that McLeod-Shabogesic. And every other moon follows as our grandmother faces us, turns to us with a different reminder, a different teaching each time she cycles. And when she reaches around the summertime, around our grandfather, she gets to what we call that summer solstice, which is when she's furthest away from our grandfather in that dance, but she leans into him. And we receive that warmth during that summer time. And she carries us and makes her way around our grandfather to complete that life cycle. Every other creature of creation follows that makwa in that new life dance, that new beginning. It's a very special time. A time that our people now are celebrating more. All of us in all the different nations in the world, those earth people all around the world, we all have our ways of celebrating this time, our stories, our teachings, our languages. We all have our each way. But like this fire that burns in front of us, we all sit around that fire as you are sitting today. And even though my path to that fire, where I see that fire, is the way I see it, each of you sit around the same fire, and you see it from where you sit. And your path is from where you are. No matter what kind of nation you are from, you have your teachings, your way, your understandings of how you walk to that fire, even as an individual. But it is that same fire. We just see it from a different way. All our teachings, our stories, our creation stories, they may be different in the words that we share them, but the spirit of each of those stories is the same. The fire, which is that spirit, is the same. There are stories about our clans. Some of our tribes, some of our nations have clans. Not all, but some do. And in the Anishinaabe territory, we have our clans, 7 clans. That Makwa is one of them. There is a story about that clan, about that Makwa that I heard. And I'm sure there are more stories. But I'd like to share with you the story of this Makwa, the one I heard. It was said that a long time ago, when our clans were first given to us by the animals, each of the clans were given gifts, roles and responsibilities. They were not all given at that one time. Throughout time, the clans received other things. And they said there was a time when the clans were living in a lodge, in a community. And each of the clans had their lodges. And there was this old man that came to the village, not from there. And this old man was very sick, weak, hungry, thirsty. He could barely walk, this strange old man. He stumbled into the village looking for help, looking for someone to help him with his illness, his weakness. his hurt, pain, and suffering. He went to the first lodge that he came to, which was a crane lodge. He looked inside and he voiced to the people inside and asked them, "Is there anyone here that can help me? Can I come inside? Can someone help me with the sickness that I have? And someone feed me? Maybe give me some water, and I'll be on my way." They looked at him and they said, "No, we can't help you. Maybe go to the next lodge. We don't want you here in case we catch up whatever it is you have." So he left that lodge. He went to the next one, the Loon Lodge. Again, he went in and peeked inside, asked if he could be helped, asked if someone there could help him with his sickness. Give him a little food, water, a little bit of shelter. Then he'd be on his way. They too did not want him in that lodge. Told him to go to the next one. They can't help him. He did this with all 6 clan lodges till he got to the 7th. Each one of them had cast him away, shunned him away, till he got to the Bear Lodge. He peered inside and he asked if someone there could help him, could comfort him, even just for a little while. This one old Anishinaabe, this woman, she saw him and she felt sorry for him. She felt bad. She felt pity. She felt she wanted to help. But she told him, "I don't know how I can help you, but you can come inside. I can't feed you. I can give you a little bit of water." And as he went inside, he said to the old woman, "You know, I know how my illnesses can be cured. I just need someone to help me. Would you go out if I told you what medicine to get?" So the old Bear Clan woman said, "I can help you. I don't know how to make medicine that you need, but I can try to comfort you as best I can." The old man turned to her and said, "It's okay. I know what I need. And if you can go out and collect the medicine that I will instruct you to and show you how to prepare it, maybe you can make that medicine, that mshkuke, for me and help me." So the old woman agreed. She listened to the old man, who was so very sick with all kinds of illnesses. She understood his instructions of which medicine to go get, and she did. She went out, she harvested those medicines, she put her sama down, brought that medicine back, listened to his instructions on how to make that medicine, slowly put it together for him. As he took that medicine, he began to get more well. The one disease, the one illness he had was leaving, but he had some others. And she said to him, "I've helped you with the one, but I don't know how to help you with any of the others." And he said to her, "That's okay, because I know what I need for those as well. And if you can go out and collect those medicines, bring them back, follow my instructions to make that mshkike, that medicine, for me, that will help." And she agreed. So time after time, she would go out in the forest to collect the medicine he had instructed her. And one by one, as she brought those medicines in and prepared that mshkike for him, he took it and got more well each time. Till finally, the last illness he had, she had gone out, collected the plants, the medicines, brought it back, made that mshkike, that medicine, and cured him with it. Once he was strong and well, full of food and water, he thanked her. And he said, come with me outside. Before I leave, I want to give you something. They walked outside the lodge, the Bear Clan Lodge. And right in front, he stopped. And as she looked at him, he changed. All of a sudden, he turned into Gejem Nado, the creator. It was the creator all along. And the creator turned to her and said, you have been so kind, so giving, so generous, so helpful. I want to give you the gift of this medicine. All that knowledge that I gave you, I want you to carry that, to continue to help others who are looking for that healing, that balance. That is what I'm giving to you, that gift and that responsibility and that role. And he told her to go into the bush and get a small hemlock tree. And so she did. That last medicine she went to get was that little tree. And he said to dig it out from the roots and bring it. Don't kill it. So she brought it to him. And he told her, right in front of your lodge, I want you to dig a hole and plant that hemlock in front of your lodge. And so she did. And as she planted it and stood back, they both looked at that hemlock tree. And Gejem Nado went like this. And that tree grew to a big, tall hemlock tree, which are one of the tallest trees in the bush. And he said, there, now when people are traveling through your territory, they will see that hemlock tree from a distance. They will know where to go if they are ill, if they need their balance, if they need help in healing, in medicine. It will be in front of your lodge. And so this is one of those many stories about the bear, about the gifts that it has, and the clan that has been given the responsibility and instructions to walk with that bear, walk with that makwa. And so they do. When I was young, growing up on the res back home in Nipissing, bears were always around our place. Didn't help that we had a dump not far. They were always wandering over to our house. And I remember as a young boy watching the old black and white TVs. Yes, TVs were black and white at one time. For you young people. We actually turned them on like this too. Not like this. But at the time when I was young, I used to watch different shows, and we had 3 channels, French one, 2 English ones, North Bay and Sudbury. And on one of the channels, there was this show we used to like to watch as we were kids. It was called The Forest Rangers. It was in black and white. That's how far back this was. And this show was about these young kids. They were about my age at that time, 10, 12, just preteens and teens. And these children, these young people, they lived in this fort in the bush. They always had these different adventures, similar to being on the res. They were non-native kids, and there was a couple of Nish kids there. And one of the episodes, I was sitting there watching with my dad. And on the episode, the kids had got up this particular morning, and there was a bear that had come to visit them. A bear that was digging in their food, getting into mischief. And the kids didn't know what to do. So they said, wow, who can we ask to help us? And one of the kids goes, oh, let's ask Indian Joe. Because back then they all had an Indian Joe. And so they called Indian Joe to come over, and Indian Joe asked them, what's going on? They said, well, there's this bear that is causing all kinds of damage and eating our food. And doesn't want to go away. What do we do? And he says, well, you just tell it to go away. And they go, how do we do that? And he said, okay, watch me. So he goes over to where the bear is, and he starts to speak in the language, Anishinaabe, to the bear. And the bear looks at him, and he's grunting, going like that, like we do. And him and the bear and the Makwa and Indian Joe are having a conversation. And then finally the bear turns, and Indian Joe is telling him, Wisma, go. And so the bear turns and leaves. And Indian Joe looks at the kids and just, smiles and says, that's how it's done. And they're all amazed. And I'm sitting there watching this, and I'm all amazed too. And I turned to my dad, who spoke the language fluently. I said, hey, Dad, can bears understand Indian language? And he goes, oh, I heard they can. He said, I don't know for sure, but my dad used to say that. You're Mishomis, he said, he used to say that. So we kind of left it. And not too long after, just a week or two after that, at this time it was in the summertime. My dad and I are driving down a bush road on the res, back in the res, Smith's Road. We're driving down, and we're in his truck, and I'm sitting in the front with him, and we're looking for partridge, just going for a ride. And we're driving, and look, sure enough, there's a Makwa on the road, sitting there. My dad drives up to it, stops. We're not too far away from him. He's just right in front of us, just looking at us. He's standing there, he's sitting there, my dad, and the bear gets up and kind of walks over to the side to get out of the way. And my dad puts it in park. He goes, hang on a sec, I want to try something. So he gets out, he walks in front, and he tells me to stay there, in the truck. He walks over, and he's standing right where the bear went in. And I could see my dad there with his hand on his hip, and he's looking there, and I could see him talking. I could kind of hear him a little bit, speaking Ojibwe, kicking the stones, and he's talking to him there for a couple of minutes. And then finally I see my dad go like that, and says, kind of like waves at him goodbye, comes back and sits in the truck, puts it in drive, and starts going down the road again. And I'm like, what did he say? And he just kind of laughed, and he said, well, I don't know what he said, but he seemed to understand what I was saying. And I said, well, what did you ask? What did you say to him? He goes, well, what do you say to a bear? He said, I just asked him how he was doing, how his day was going. And he said the funny thing was, when I was speaking to him, when I would ask him something, he would grunt and kind of acknowledge. It's like he knew what I was asking him, and he was answering me the way bears do. He said, so I guess we had a little conversation, and then when I didn't know what else to say, I just said, I gotta go, bamapi, go up men, see you later. And he goes like that. He said the bear seemed to understand, went like that back too, grunted, turned around, and walked into the bush. And that story really, sits with me after all these years, because of that connection that as Earth people, for me as an Anishinaabe, that we had and still do, but maybe we haven't even practiced that language for a long time. Because the animals, the plants, the beings of creation, they have their ways of communicating to us. There was a time our people understood, listened, knew what was being showed to us, what was being told to us. But since we've been colonized, we've lost not only our own tongue, but some of the ways of speaking to our other relations. Because when an elder says, all my relations, they're not just talking about blood, family. All my relations means everything. All beings, all plants, all animals, all insects, the land, the water, the air, the fire, everything. And so there was a closeness that we had at one time, closer than we have today, but we are moving back to that, I like to say. And our bear, our relative, our brother, our sister, that Makwa, has never left our side, has always come to visit us in one way or another, to help us, even though we don't realize it. We often will condemn, shoo away, but they are relentless with their love for us. They always come back. But they may stop at one time. So that's why it's important for us to somewhere, someone, have that fire going. Somewhere, someone offers a medicine to give thanks. Somewhere, someone does a bear ceremony at this time to thank the bear, that Makwa, for the gifts, the medicine, all the things that it brings us. And to feed that bear, because it's done a lot of work for us and for us as Earth people. Anishinabek, Haudenosaunee, Maliseet, Haida, whatever people you are. We always have food, which is medicine. Life food, that's what that medium is, that food. It's life medicine, and we share it. We offer that. We give that to those who come to visit us, to help us. We don't hoard. We don't turn away. We find a way, like the bear, to protect, to carry that medicine in a good way, and to share. So this Makwa-Geesis, it's become more and more special to our communities. Like the stars at night. Some nights you look and there's only a couple of stars, and then you see them beginning to appear here and there, till that night sky is full of our ancestors. The fires that they light in that great mystery. And such are these fires that we light here, and these ceremonies that we conduct, and the poa again that we light, the pipes, the songs we sing, are like those lights, those stars that are appearing in the night sky. And this is one of an infinite number of fires, ceremonies that we need to do. Aho, miigwech. I want to sing this last song, and just a teaching that our brother and sisters, the Makwa, that Bear has given to us, is that teaching about medicine. Medicine is everywhere. Medicine is in the plants. It's also in the earth, in the air, in the water. Medicine is in the air that we breathe, in the fire that we light. Medicine is in our words that we share with one another. How we share that medicine with one another makes you feel a particular way. If we are harsh with our words, you send that medicine to someone. If you are kind, they feel that too. And so we have medicines in our songs, in the sound that comes from those helpers that we carry and use, the drum, the shaker. And it's a beautiful sound. And when that sound and words are beautiful, that's the medicine that is being shared. So I'd like to close with this traveling song, just to let the Bear Spirit and all our ancestors who may have come by, who heard the words and heard the songs, heard the prayers, received the sama, and will receive that food. Let them know that this circle, this time we spent together is coming to a close, but we will meet again. We'll open up that door again, that fire, and invite our ancestors and the spirits to come and join us.